Welcome to the Creative Life Podcast, the place where creatives go for inspiration. On this show, we sit down with artists, makers, and creative thinkers to talk about the real stories behind the work, the challenges, the breakthroughs, and the lessons that shape a creative life. Each conversation is designed to inspire you, encourage you, and to remind you that your creative journey matters. My name is Jessica. I'm a creative host, I'm a creative coach, as well as your host, and I'm joined today by co-host Dr. Jacqueline Gibbons and a very special guest. All right, Dr. Gibbons, who do we have on the show today?
Coach and host Jessica. We're in for a good time here. Okay, so today's guest is a storyteller, digital marketer, and creative entrepreneur working at the intersection of lived experience and brand strategy. Through her platform, E. Barnes, she shares narratives shaped by her time as a Peace Corps volunteer in Morocco and her global experiences, grounded in the belief that stories aren't just meant to be told, but to move people. She brings that same philosophy into her company, IRL Digital Marketing, where she helps brands create story-driven content that builds real connection. Her work sits at a unique intersection of authenticity and strategy, turning real-life experiences into meaningful impact. In this conversation, we explore how storytelling becomes a business tool and how following curiosity can shape both your creative life and your career.
Oh, I am so excited to get into tonight's. Oh, my child must have coughed on me. I'm so excited to get into tonight. That's dangerous though, right? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm so excited to have you on the couch today. And Dr. Gibbons, how about you kick us off with the first question?
Okay. Is it possible that there is an elevator pitch that is you that can be 60 seconds?
Are you talking about me personally or me professionally?
All of it.
All of it.
Whatever you want.
Okay,
You
great.
pick.
Yeah, just 60-second pitch. I love storytelling. It's always been a huge part of who I am and how I see the world, and learning how to make money at that was kind of one of my biggest challenges. And at the same time, I wanted to go abroad and explore, and fortunately I've been able to do both. So very excited to share that.
That is fantastic.
I like that.
Yes.
She said, make money, be creative, and travel the world. That's my kind of girl.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's,
I like it.
what more is there?
I don't know.
That's amazing.
I love that. Okay.
It is good to be you. It is a good life. So that's why I want to learn more. Yeah. So you describe yourself as a storyteller and a dream chaser. Mm-hmm. So what moment first made you realize that storytelling would be central to your life?
Yeah, my parents, especially my mom, had reading from the get-go. Like I don't remember a time when I wasn't reading, when stories weren't a part of my life. And so that's kind of how I framed everything moving forward in my life, has always been seeing everything as a story, whether it's a person and where they came from, or even, an apple on the table. What farm did it come from? What weather did it experience as it came into being? And so from that very beginning, it became then, how do I make money at stories? How can I make that what I do for a living? And for a while, I struggled with that whole idea of you can either go and be an English teacher or you can go work in a publishing house. And those were kind of your two options. And then in college, I went to a writing conference and learned about content marketing. And that opened a whole nother door for me, because I found out, wait, you can write and tell stories for businesses? What? So once I figured that out, then it became, okay, how do I do that? Either working full-time for a company, which I did for a while, and then more recently going freelance and starting my own LLC. So yeah.
That is exciting.
That is really cool. I like how you were able to check in with yourself. So like you mentioned, oh, here are the two options that people tell me I can have. But then you went to a writing conference, you explored the possibility. You said, what if there's a third? What if there's a more integrated approach? So that is beautiful. And now that I know more about your educational journey, I really want to dig into your Peace Corps experience and how that really shaped your creative voice and perspective. It feels like it had a profound impact on you.
Absolutely, yeah. Peace Corps, for those who don't know, is a government organization that sends Americans abroad to Skillshare, basically. And so my department that I was working in was youth development. So I again went to Morocco and went to a tiny rural village out in the mountains and was assigned to a youth center and worked there for 2 years, 27 months. And it changed everything from the way I see the world and what I value to how I see other people and diversity in general. So specifically for my voice, it became a lot about authenticity. I feel like a lot of pressure, both in the marketing world and just online, social media, is what do people want to hear, not what do I have to say. And for me, for Morocco, it was all about what am I actually experiencing, how do I actually feel, and how do I communicate that to other people. So one of Peace Corps' main goals is to share the host national country's culture with Americans back home. The way that I did that was to post a photo of my life in Morocco on Instagram every day. And I made sure to make that the beautiful, glamorous. You get to go to the weddings, you get to go vacation. It's really cool. And there's also the mundane. There's cooking my, meals over a little stove. There is the washing my laundry by hand. There are the not so fun things. And I really tried to capture that authentic life for what it was, the good and the bad, the fun, the mundane, and bringing that back to America and making it a part of my business, making it a part of my personal creativity. And even when I'm working with clients, encouraging them to always take a step back and is that part of your mission statement? Is that really the goal for the piece? And challenging them to stay authentic as well.
Okay, I like that. I like how it is very difficult actually to be authentic because you're trying to balance your engagement rates, and then you're also trying to show yourself. So I appreciate you talking about the authenticity and even just that little check of saying, is this really what my brand mission is? Is this really what I want to say? And then showing the mundane, like, yeah, I have to do my laundry. I'm going to show you doing my laundry. So that is really beautiful.
And, believe it or not, there are so many people who find great interest in that. You would think, oh, here I go. But as you well know, Americans watching, wow, that's how you're doing it. Then you realize you don't pack a whole lot. So I digress. Okay, so your platform is rooted in inspiring others to take action. So what stories have most changed you personally?
Again, it goes back to a lot of those stories in Morocco, and I had so many that changed me. But one of my favorite is from my counterpart. So part of Peace Corps' mission is you're working closely with the host country nationals, and it's all about transferring your knowledge, your skills into the people there. So usually you have someone from the country that you work very closely with. So for me, my counterpart was a young man that worked in the youth center. He did a lot of assistant director type work and did some teaching on the side too. But he was very much a quiet, shy young man. And then I got there and I'm trying to figure out how to make things happen. And I don't speak the language very well and looking for some help. And I really want to start this program. It's called Climb, where you use hiking as a way to teach youth leadership and life skills. So you do a little bit of classroom work, things like scavenger hunts, and then you go on hikes. And we had beautiful mountains surrounding us, so lots of opportunities. But again, you had to communicate to the parents that these kids are going to be safe. You have to communicate to the local authorities. This is what we're doing. We're not doing anything weird. And so I really relied on him. And in some cases, we were trying to translate between 3 or 4 languages and trying to keep everyone on the same page and making sure when we're crossing regional lines, everyone is safe, everyone understands. And so I was just rapid fire, like, okay, we have to do this, we have to do that, we need to communicate with these people. And he just stood right up. He never at all was balking at anything that I was asking of him, and he just grew exponentially. Soon it was no longer the shy, quiet guy in the corner. It became a leader who was leading these teenagers, becoming a mentor to them, and leading them up mountains, literally. And at the end of the program, it culminates in this hike to the tallest peak of North Africa. And we did it and we came home. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling like everything is amazing. He did an amazing job. He's grown so much. His English is great. And he's just like sad and down. And I'm like, what? Like, we took teenagers up the top of the tallest peak in North Africa. We can do anything. What are you sad about, you know? And for him, he was like, well, that was it. Like, what do I do next? What now? And I'm like, the world's your oyster. What do you want to do? And he said, I will never forget it. He goes, I want to do what you do. I want to be like you. And so humbling, just the most amazing feeling to have someone look at you and be like, I want to be like you. And once I was able to recover myself, I was like, well, you can. There's a really cool program in Africa called Core Africa, which essentially does the same thing as Peace Corps, just it's for Africans. And so the first year you serve in your home country, and then you have the opportunity to go abroad. And so he applied and was accepted, and he started his volunteer service just as I was finishing mine. And he was helping earthquake victims. There was a major earthquake in Morocco in 2022. So he was continuing to help those victims. And then he served his first year. He had a blast. And he applied and was accepted to serve in Ghana for his second year. So he's actually in Ghana now, getting close to finishing his service. But it was so cool to hear him talk to me. We're still in communication, and he's telling me all about, oh my gosh, I'm struggling with the language, I'm struggling with the food, but at the same time, I have these really cool projects. And I'm just laughing because I've experienced the same things on the same journey that I was, and just thriving. And there was a recent holiday for Morocco, Eid, and his sister had called him and was like, I'm so impressed by how far you've come, how much you've grown. Your English is amazing. And he's just like, thank you. And I was like, no, this is all you. This is you growing and having the same journey that I did. And it's just the most inspirational thing on how if you just give someone a chance and encourage them, they are going to do the most amazing things.
Okay. You know what's really interesting, Emily, what you just did? You actually modeled stories that move. Mm-hmm. So, and this is really important for creatives at home. So what you have done, I'm just going to break it down because actually was our next question is how do you create stories that move people into action? You actually just modeled it. So one, you set up the environment, you set up the context, but also we were drawn in. You drew us in. And you were authentic. You showed, hey, this was me, this was them, this was our challenges, this is the things that we had to do, overcome. But then you also you showed the change and the growth and the evolution. And then you showed how it started trickling out. And so for creatives, let's say I'm a creative at home and I want to do what you just did, Emily. So you just created a story that was a catalyst for action to make someone move. For example, you have an example of two people who changed their lives. So if I'm a creative, how can I do the same thing you just did?
I think I would have two pieces of advice. The first is lean on other people as your sounding board. I think a lot of us get stuck in our own heads and our own echo chambers. And the first step is just talking to someone you trust, whether that's a friend or a family member. Bounce ideas. Ask, is this a good idea? Do you think this is a good idea? And hear what they have to say. And I think that the other thing would be to lean on your strengths, your passions, what you are passionate about. I think a lot of us, when we're thinking of stories or missions, or we have these lofty goals or this one idea of what we think it is. A lot of times when someone says, oh, I want to tell a story, they think, I'm going to write a novel. And a lot of people don't like to write, which is totally fine. So you get 5 sentences into the first page and you're like, okay, I'll work on it tomorrow, and you never do. So I think picking something that you are passionate about will not only help you just start, but help you follow through. So for someone who maybe it's woodworking, you loved woodwork, well then carve a bunch of statues and put them in a sequential order and start your own story that way. If it's someone who loves gardening, then maybe it's you make pictures out of your gardens and you stand up on the roof and you can see this beautiful picture that comes out. I think there are lots of different ways, and we get pigeonholed in that idea that telling a story or forcing an action or encouraging an action is only done through writing or only done through film or one of the three ways we commonly think of art, when art can be anything.
I like that. I like it. And it's also tangible for our creatives too. You are such an out-of-the-box thinker. I can already tell.
Yes.
Because from the very beginning, you're saying, oh, those are my options. Please, I have another one. And then now here you are again telling with storytelling. Storytelling doesn't have to be written. It doesn't have to be drawn. Storytelling can be experienced. Like you said, the person getting up on the roof, a different perspective to see the story. So I like that you are challenging our creatives to think out of the box, like get out of this non-binary thinking, truly. It's no, there's another way. Be creative and find that way.
Yes. So then with storytelling, how did you transition from personal storytelling to IRL, digital marketing?
Yeah, for me, it's not so much a transition as it is a balance. I'm still very much doing my own personal creative exploring and through writing and other experiences. It's just that my business, IRL Digital Marketing, also takes some of that creativity. So for me, it's less of a transition and more of a battery. I have so much creativity in a day. Some of that is going to go towards the business. Some of it's going to go towards my personal experiences and writing and creativity. And striking that balance has been a challenge for me. I tend to expend all of it on one thing or the other. So if I put it all into the business and creatively growing that and focusing on my clients, then I find I have less of it for my own personal stuff. And so that starts to kind of taper off a little bit. And then I'm still working on the whole not getting burned out thing and taking time for that recharge in my own personal stuff too. So it's still very much a challenge that I'm working on, but again, less of a transition and more of a balance.
Okay. Excellent. I like that you're very transparent about it, that you don't have to be perfect at it. You're in the messy middle. You're like, I'm figuring out how to actually balance this, how to be here and there, here for myself, but also here for others. And as we're talking about your clients and IRL digital marketing, what does story-based marketing actually look like in practice for your clients, for them?
I think kind of one of the best ways to look at it is like if you remember back in school when they tell you about the hero's journey or you're breaking down what a character arc is. And if you think about it from a marketing perspective, your client should always be your hero. So if you phrase it or think of it that way, then it becomes a sense of, okay, here's my client, he's the hero, and they're kind of at this place and they have some kind of problem, there's some kind of challenge. And then you get to be that wizard or that experienced person that comes in and says, have you thought about this? And this product, whatever it is, can be the solution. So they learn to use that product and then you fight the battle and you come out on top. That solution is what fixes the problem and then they have success. And once you kind of have that basic arc, then it's easier to add in the fun little spicy stuff like, okay, your hero, your client loves the color blue. So then when the reader, another potential client, reads it, they're like, I love the color blue. So, oh, I'm just like that hero. Oh, wait, if I then use that product, okay, I can fight the same battle. I can have the same solution. I can come out on top. And that's kind of then what draws them into the story. And so once they're invested, they're going to follow through to whatever action you're pointing them to.
Oh, I love that. And the hero's journey, it is a classic. I mean, Disney repetitively uses it because it works. And then I like how you said the little spice, Dr. Gibbons. Sometimes we need the little spice in a story to say,
Yep.
that's me. I could put myself into that scenario. So I could see how you're working with your clients and that's tangible. And it's relatable,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I was just thinking that. Relatable, certainly. So what has been the biggest challenge in building both a creative identity and a business at the same time? You've referenced this charging battery. Tell me more.
Yeah, I think it is that balance again, and with the IRL digital marketing, a lot of it becomes how am I taking that creativity and giving it to my clients while also balancing again that authenticity. In the end, you have to do what the client wants, what makes them happy, what their goal is, and the best you can do is just advise them however you can. But I think overall, I took my inspiration from the 2025 forecast for what they thought marketing was going to be. And one of the big things they kept saying was talking about in-person events and digital marketing crossing over. And so IRL digital marketing in my mind was in real life digital marketing. And so playing off of that IRL acronym. And that's one of the things that I'm still kind of working on in my business. It's a slow start on that front because it is newer. People aren't used to thinking of that. They think of it as either I'm doing in-person, brick and mortar, that kind of thing, or I'm doing digital marketing on the social media, newsletters, etc. And one of the things that I'm really trying to help people focus on is that converging of the two. And not only from a example of, I mean, how do you hear about most things these days? You're usually hearing about them digitally on social media or ad campaigns on your streaming service. But at the same time, more and more of us, especially Gen Z, millennials, are looking for ways to connect in person. And I hear it again and again, young people, well, I don't know what to do. Where do we go? We go to the bar or we go to the park, you know? And so by creating those events, say you're a coffee shop and you're creating an event like game night or something, you're inviting people to an event that they can go to. You are becoming the excuse for people to get out and see one another. And how do you promote that? You promote it digitally, but then you're bringing people in to this in-person event, which you can then take the photos, the video, and promote that again for your next event and your overall brand. And so I really think that that's a lot of the creativity that started IRL digital marketing and what continues to try to feed it.
Okay, so we actually met at an event in person, connecting, and like you said, you promote it online, then the people come there, but there's something very on an energetic level that happens when people are in the room and they chose to be in the room and they're connecting and they're talking. So I can see the power. Now I'm seeing your vision, Emilie, of how you can 100% use that content to say, hey, yes, we can do brick and mortar. Yes, we can do digital. But when you come to this room, it's something different. It's transformative. So I can only give you a snippet of what's happening. But if you really want to be in the room, you're coming to the next event. I see your niche. Okay, I see what Emilie's doing. Once again, she's not thinking like everybody else.
Right.
You're a disruptor. Okay.
I love that. I love that.
Okay.
So I know we touched a little bit on so navigating, monetizing your creativity without losing authenticity, because you know there's this is what people want, but then we want to make a living doing what we love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I almost like to do audits of, okay, you have that pressure of, I need to pay the bills, I need money, this is 2026, this is America, you gotta have money to live, it's the way it is. So you start to feel that pressure of, okay, well, I need this money, so maybe I should just go with whatever people say that they want, whatever the client says they want, what I think people want to hear. And there are times where I try to just do a check-in. I even write it down in just a blank page or a journal or something and say, okay, let's take a step back. Is this actually what the trends are showing through my marketing research? Is this where things are actually going, or is this just what I think people want to see? And I think taking that time to actually take a step back and be real about it and write it down helps me to assess what is just what might be panic or might be discomfort and what is actually the truth of the data or the truth of even what clients are telling me. No, I want more of this. Do you have the data to back that up? Is that really where things are going? Rather than strictly going by whatever my panic instinct is at the time.
That makes
The
sense.
panic instinct, yes.
So we're getting almost actually to the end. So this is going to be your final question, and take your time. But for someone who feels stuck and wants to start sharing their story, what is the first step? If we can give our listeners at home some first steps, could you walk us through that, Emilie?
Yeah. So again, your first step, I think, is to think about what story you're trying to tell. And if you don't know what that story is, that's okay. Maybe do a little bit of internal reflection, whether that is, I like to free write. I like to, whatever comes to my head, write it down. It can be bullets, it can be words, it can be full sentences, that's fine. But a lot of times when you just let your mind go, it spills out whatever is truly there. And then you can kind of sort through all of that and decide, this is good, this is not good, this is something, this is nothing. And then once you kind of organize those thoughts, then I would look more at medium. So every story has a medium. Some have ones that are better than others. Some can go multiple, but I like to think of it like when you have a favorite story and it's a book and then it becomes a movie and you're disappointed by the movie and you're like, why was it a great book and not a great movie? It's because that story was meant to be told as a book and not as a movie. And I think that that's just as important when you're thinking about your story. Again, we get caught up in that idea that every story has to be a book, and it doesn't. There are so many ways to tell it, and I think if you explore and look at it from a what would be the best way, or even what would be different ways of telling the story, that can also help. So maybe looking at the ideas that you have once you've done your free write, or even do a couple different free writes. Give yourself a certain amount of time so that you're not lingering on it for forever. And then look at, either do a Google search or just look at some of your favorite stories and how they're told. And then start to piece together, okay, that would work for my story, or that wouldn't work for my story, and kind of go from there.
Wonderful. Well, creatives, I hope that you have gotten so many nuggets out of this, because Emilie, you have really just given us a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really appreciative. I know Dr. Gibbons is appreciative of your time as well. So if you are creative at home and you're looking to say, how am I going to start my story? Well, here's someone you can work with now, IRL Digital Marketing, and you can go to our show notes. You can get all the information about Emilie. And guess what? We're going to invite you into some events as well, because we are out and about in the city, and we want you to get off your couch. And we want you, well, first you're going to like, share, subscribe, leave a review, and then get off your couch and come join us in this wonderful city we call Omaha. All right, Dr. Gibbons, I'll let you sign us off, please.
Thank you so much, Emilie. You are a gem, a true gem, and so are you. Thank you for tuning in.